What are some monsters slash entities slash strange things that have terrorized you in your nightmares?
I've had a few dreams about Pickrell. I've had an encounter with it, so it doesn't bother me that much. First nightmare one, me and a friend were driving through the back of some open-air depot. The driveway was gravel. It was night out. We were driving in a truck. I spotted it lying flat along the ground trying to blend in with the white gravel. I told my friend to run it over. However, the thing was so damned fast and agile it was weaving in between the tires as we tried to run it over. Dream ended there. Another one, I was alone in a house. I came up to the second-story balcony, which had a glass door entrance. It was staring at me through the door, the house was unlit and it was nighttime out. Pretty scary, and the dream ended there.
Quote, I've had an encounter with it, so it doesn't bother me that much. Describe this for us, Anon.
I've already done so several times, but here you go. Me and my friend drove to an isolated spot near a creek to do some drinking. We feel like we are being watched when we pull up and park. A few minutes later, all we are doing is watching behind us, parked backwards to the wood line, and I see a pale white form standing out from the darkness. Its skin was like dry old dusty leather with varicose veins that are blue. I freak the fuck out and tell my friend to drive away. As we drive away, me and him see the damn thing run across the road. It was incredibly fast, and I saw it just barely long enough to make out its form. It was tall, had skinny arms and legs and an unusually small but round head, compared to its body. We drive away a few miles and it fucking follows us down the road. It kept up with the car. We park at a lit parking lot that had cameras over it. It pops up a few hundred feet in front of us near some bushes and an unlit road. We take some pictures, but they are of a quite shit quality for a multitude of reasons. Pickrell is the one picture we got that shows something, a pair of eyes. After an hour, we decide to drive to the center of town to a 24/7 gas station for water and human contact. It was 2 a.m. at this point. We exit the parking lot but are stopped at a light before the main road. To my right is a grove of trees. Friend says he saw something moving over there. My eyes adjust and I see the upper portion of its head peeking from behind a tree. It was staring directly at me. Its eyes seemed huge, but it was in fact its eye sockets, which absorb almost all incoming light. I couldn't look away, and after a minute of probably the most horrifying, traumatic experience of my life, I tell my friend to drive away. The moment I could no longer sustain eye contact, I broke down into tears for about 30 seconds. Words cannot fully describe how terrifying and evil these things are, and I had the luxury of encountering it from the safety of a car.
The Hat Man. Multiple times. I'm not sure if he's real or not, but the first time I saw him in a dream I was 8. Scary fella.
WTF is the Hat Man?
You'll find out soon enough.
One time I had a dream that my house was by itself in a big field with a forest around the edge, and these 20 feet tall bear-like creatures with gorilla heads, that only had one dark red eye and black quills instead of hair, started coming out of the forest and surrounding my house. They got really close and then all stopped in place and started to vibrate and convulse. Then I woke up.
I block out the real terrors. I can't bring myself to remember them, and I never write them down despite writing down all my dreams. The scary ones I remember are the invisible ones that attack me. They triggered major traumatic events in my life. They came and held me down, many invisible hands, pushing. They wanted to put me under the bed. I googled it afterwards, and in some cultures, they are called caboose, or the pressure. These nightmares were terrifying. It was as vivid and ordinary as real life until the pressure took hold of me. I have also had a booming voice say my name, audibly, in what felt like waking life, though it must have been hypnagogic trance. I was attacked in a dream again a couple weeks ago. Here are my notes for that dream. He was tall and lean. Dark. I told him I was sorry and that I didn't mean any harm. I told him I wanted the best for him. I was looking out for him. His hand reached out to me. I had a feeling his gesture was violent, but I caught his hand and pressed it to my chest lovingly as I told him I just wanted the best for him. I wanted him to not. His hand was pressing closer and I felt as though his hand was rising up my chest to my neck, and I almost leaned into it. My eyes became blurry. I stared directly at him as I told him repeatedly, I just wanted to know you. I just wanted to know you. As I looked at him, I saw his entire being was nothing but a black blur, a smudge, a smoke, pure black. I just wanted to know you. I woke up with my hand at my chest and a strange feeling at my throat. Did I feel something behind me? Touching me? I was terrified that I was not alone. I remembered the Hawaiian cords that travel from the crown and imagined something there, at my cord, at the crown of my skull. My right ear was flat to my pillow. I heard a sound like buzzing, like a breath, loud, like my ear was cupped by a seashell or like something was breathing heavily close to me.
Are you a woman? Old woman in my closet. I have a recurring nightmare where an old woman crawls out of my closet on the floor. She crawls out on her arms, but I can't see her other half. She looks up at me with a smile on her face. I usually try to run away, but one time I tried to fight her in the dream, but I woke up before I could get back into my room to fight her. It's getting ridiculous at this point. I put a seal on my closet and stopped having the nightmares since. I think she's some kind of malevolent spirit that is residing in my closet, waiting until I'm asleep, then giving me nightmares and feeding on the negative emotions. Gonna figure out a way to absorb her bitch ass, then I'll undo the seal and consume her essence like a vampire.
You're literally describing what was used as the namesake behind the mere part of nightmare. LMFAO will pray for you, my dude, that's some spooky shit.
Something really bad will happen on January 14th, 2023 Anon. Lock the closet.
Grew up in Canada, and we had a channel called YTV, I think it's still around. But anyway, there was this show back in the mid-90s, with these three puppets. I think they were white and they each had different colored hair that was made from sparkly tassels or something. Anyway, there was a red one which I think was the leader, a blue one and a green one. For some reason I think they were a band or something. Only thing I can remember is them kind of bouncing around on a puppet stage thingy, with their hair flying all around. Very hazy memories of them. I've tried finding the show over the last 2 decades but I cannot find anything relating to it. So, onto the good stuff. Around 1994 to about 1997 at the old house I lived in as a young kid, I would have these nightmares every night of these three. I am 30 now and can still remember some of them vividly. These dreams always felt very real and I always dreaded going to bed every night because I knew they would come. They always started off with me in bed waking up at some point in the middle of the night after my mom had gone to sleep. I had a night light on and always had my radio on with the oldies channel on, so old boomer music from the 50s and 60s would be playing. So, I would awake in my race car bed, which was facing the bedroom door and the only light would be from my night light, so pretty dim. I could see the hallway. The white walls were always a certain nighttime blue hue and then blackness at the end of the hallway where the bathroom was with the stairs to the main floor off to the left. I would always be awake for a few moments and then I would hear voices coming from downstairs, like whispering voices, like mischievous they were up to no good. They would be talking coming to get me. Then I would hear running up the stairs and the 3 puppets from the show would come running from around the corner of the stairs into the hallway into my room to get me. I would wake up every time. They were about to kill me. Here's the kicker, they looked absolutely nothing like the puppets from the show. They were always adult-sized in height and medium builds, not too lanky or bulky. Their hair was always really long and poofy, almost like the hairstyles you'd see on glam metal band members. They always had paper white skin and these paper white jumpsuits with stripes going across from their mid-arms and chest. Their hair and stripes on their jumpsuits were the same colors from the actual puppets on the show, so red, blue, and green. I remember the eyes on each of them were black with tiny white pupils that glowed and they had sinister grins with razor-sharp teeth. They fucking horrifying. Legit getting shivers typing this out, remembering these things and the setting. I can still remember it like it were yesterday, the smell of my room. The droning sound of oldies music playing and these freaks making a mad dash up the stairs and into my room surrounding me in my racecar bed, getting ready to eat me with those sharp teeth. Anyway, this one dream I remember the best. I awoke in my playroom in the middle of the night, which was down the hall next to the bathroom which was down the hall from my bedroom. It was a spare bedroom, with a blue circular rug in the middle of the room. I remember waking up in the middle of the carpet with moonlight shining into the room, being the only light source in there. I was facing the door into the hallway which was pitch black. I remember thinking to myself in the dream, how did I get here? They'll be here soon and I'm not in my bed. I had a feeling of dread overcome me and was thinking of booking it to my room, but was paralyzed with fear and didn't move. Sure enough, moments later I heard them down in the living room, walking and whispering. Then the footsteps coming up the stairs. I saw the silhouettes come around the corner of the stairs and they bolted into the playroom, quickly surrounding me, laughing like psychos and making these noises like I don't even know how to explain. They sounded psychotic, and were about to eat me. Then I woke up in bed, scared as fuck, lel.
Genuinely bone-chilling story. I got curious and did a bit of research on YTV and 90s puppet shows and found some results. Let me know if any of these help.
Welcome back. That was Shining Time Station. Yeah! Wow, 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 wow. Why don't you scream a little louder? My other ear isn't deaf yet. Wow! We're here.
Not really a monster, but for the last 2 nights in a row I've had weird roadkill dreams where I'm driving and the road is just completely littered with large bodies of animals. The first night it was multiple deer, bears, horses, and dogs, and just now I woke up from the same nightmare, but it was even bigger, more exotic animals like camels, lions, elephants, etc. I even saw a few human corpses and severed heads littered on the road. I've never had a recurring dream until now. What the fuck is going on? It's not like I watched a horror movie recently or anything.
I started having these dreams 10 years ago, and they have been reoccurring with less frequency since. I never knew what to make of them, but they always spook me.
A deep feeling of nostalgia. Or of lost potential. I dream that I'm back in my college years, my first apartment, and see how everything has changed. Someone else lives there now, but I want to go back. I try to sneak in or convince the landlord to let me pay her for the room as if it was a hotel. I travel back to Vancouver with ease, like a simple hop into the subway, and I travel across 2 countries to be back in downtown Vancouver. I show my friends and family how I used to live and how I used to feel. It's bittersweet.
When you realize humans finding humanoid-looking creatures scary is evolutionary. Which means there was something that looked human but wasn't, which terrorized our ancestors. You'll stop fearing your nightmares and start fearing reality.
I've heard it speculated that the uncanny valley effect might come from early humans seeing decaying corpses of other people, and being creeped out. And there were other hominids like Neanderthals around back then as well, so maybe the conflicts between them and our ancestors is the reason for why other humanoids freak us out. That or monkeys or apes maybe.
When I was a teen, I had a nightmare that I was hiding in the back room of a costume shop, full of like Batman and Joker related stuff, cause I had been playing Gotham City Imposters LOL. But a creature broke through the door and picked me up, and it was probably one of the most real sensations I have felt during a dream. The thing itself was tall and hunched over and skinny, with very long arms that were bent in the middle. They kinda looked like Freddy's arms when he stretches them. It picked me up and forced me to look at it. I couldn't really discern any of its facial features except its eyes, cause it just looked blurry, I guess. But the eyes themselves were just kinda holes that seemed to squirm and move like they were full of worms. Also, for some reason it had hair kinda like a Raggedy Andy, but less orange and more red. I looked up long skinny creature kinda as a joke, but this pic here is similar, especially the bend in the arms, but the thing in my dream was less skinny, more bulky looking. Had wide shoulders despite being pretty skinny overall.
I always hate these threads because I put a lot into what I write and no one replies, but whatever. You'll keep them short and sweet then. These are the ones that really stick out. One dream turned nightmare has me running first person through a nice neighborhood on a windy spring day. However, all of these houses were right next to each other, only divided by their fences with a bit of yard grass in between. I turn around and look to see a tornado forming above me. I make a quick decision to break into someone's home to seek shelter. Inside it was scary quiet, as if it was me in a void. I hear the sound of someone snoring off in the distance. I close in and notice an elderly Chinese man dressed in an ornate, red Chinese robe. The kind a Kung Fu grandmaster would wear. He looked to be napping sitting down on his couch. The living room was surrounded by authentic martial arts weaponry and ancient artifacts. I hear something crunch under my foot, and before I could realize what it was, I hear a deafening scream coming from the old man. Think those baby plants from Harry Potter. It all happened so fast, but in a matter of 1 second he gets up from his couch, draws a bladed chain-looking weapon, and everything turns to black. I assume I died before I even hit the ground. Another was where I was a king of some ancient Sumerian-style city-state, surrounded by absurdly tall guard walls, about the size of a 15-story building. After I take a tour of my city and met with all of my subjects, I could tell I was a beloved leader that was trusted and respected. Though I could also tell that some of the elderly and mature people seemed uneasy about something else going on. I finally demanded my royal guard, after their many efforts to divert my attention, that I wanted to see what was beyond those walls. They finally conceded, and led me to one of the doors opening to a winding staircase. I reach the top and am heartstruck by what I see. Surrounded on all sides, approximately 3 miles, 5 kilometers, of desolate no-man's land separated us, and an extremely hellish mountain range that encompasses our city full circle. The mountains were covered in dark black ash cloud with intermittent thunder illuminating the silhouette of jagged peaks and red-hot hell. They seemed to close in. I couldn't quite tell, but it seemed as it was creeping closer and closer. I finally realized then what the walls were for. I looked at my one guard accompanying me. He looked defeated, almost as if he wanted to cry. We said nothing, but understood. There was nothing that could be done. We were all going to perish. And then there are the recurring nightmares where I run through one of my local trails along a creek. Except the creek is infested with Nile crocodiles. I'm from Texas. I keep running, but more and more seem to spawn in the waters, and they eventually spill over onto the trail itself. Everything goes to black and I wake up. I hate those ones.
I had a dream vision a while back where I was apparently a Soviet conscript in World War II. I'm laying in a slight depression, surrounded by corpses, lots and lots of corpses. It's raining shells. There's some blown-out ruins ahead of me at about 400 meters distance, and I can see what are apparently the enemy being silhouetted against the sky through the windows and cracks of the buildings. It's cold and drizzling, the sky is gray, and the ground I'm laying on is muddy. There's apparently an advance by them because then they're right up on top of me, less than 20 meters. That's when I realize that I'm not the only one laying in that pile still returning firing. There's movement as some of my guys jump up and are scurrying forward the best they can. I'm real low on cartridges, so I call out, "Hey, anyone there, you got any ammo?" I recognize the face of the man that runs up to me, a personal friend, though at the time I can't quite place him. He hands me 8 cartridges, 5 on a stripper and 3 loose. I notice he's not carrying a rifle.
"Here, comrade, make them count."
I had a series of weirdly vivid dreams involving shadow people. The first time I dreamed about them was outside the ruins of what looked to be some kind of old abandoned mansion. There were other humans there, possibly other dreamers, and they were making deals with the shadow people, some of which were perched upon stone pillars. I made a deal with a shadow person. It didn't speak but rather communicated psychically without the need for words. I don't remember what the deal was, but I know I went through with it. Not long after, some jackass human pissed one of the shadow people off and it started hurling this pure destructive energy our way. I don't think they were trying to hit me, but I didn't want to get caught in the crossfire, so I got out of there. Then I encountered them in some other vivid dreams. These ones were dicks. They basically had complete control the dream itself. They could make the environment change and cause me to wake up over and over in different locations. Sometime after that I dreamed I was in some garden with random trash about the place. There I met a little shadow girl with pigtails and a dress. She had a much more friendly and playful energy than the shadow adults I'd met. She was much more expressive in her movement and communicated more in body language than psychic communication. Lying in the grass was an old TV displaying static. The shadow girl was excited to show me that she could appear on the screen at will. A couple of years passed with no shadow people dreams until last year, in which I dreamed I was in a field with a gravel path. I saw a little kitten, so I petted it and then dropped onto the grass carefree and laid there on my back petting the kitten. I could hear kids running down the gravel path from behind me. This is when I realized I could no longer move. I was stuck laying there in the grass. As the footsteps of the children got real close behind me, I woke up from my dream in a sleep paralysis and saw 2 shadow children run past my bed and disappear. It was a holy shit moment, but I was not scared. I knew they were not there to harm me. Shadow kids have a calming energy.
It is so odd how nightmares occur. Some of them seem to be of cause due to just have been thinking about something, maybe small or big throughout the day. I.e. Jurassic Park T-Rexes, Godzilla toys in the cartel, and they appear into your nightmare. But then there is the sleep paralysis demons and shadow people. Crazy.
Not a nightmare per se, but I had a dream about a backroom type structure. I was in a group and the area looked like some kind of area that was under renovation. Walls weren't complete, you could even see the levels below through unfinished floors. Contractor equipment was spread everywhere, tools, paint buckets, pieces of drywall. I don't remember much about why we were there. All I remember was that, after looking behind us down some hallway, there was a creature resembling a living electrical cord that poked its head out from behind a wall. After that I woke up.
Pickrell since I drew it from what I can remember. But I've been seeing these things in my dreams since I was 7 and saw it opening my closet when I was asleep. Woke up to the sound of my closet opening and nothing being there. Ever since then I've just periodically kept seeing these things from then on, usually hidden in the BG of some of my dreams.
The scariest dream I ever had was when I was 7. It was about blue aliens. It happened in 3 parts. Part 1, I see a news broadcast talking about how blue aliens are planning on abducting people tonight. Part 2, my mom and dad are sitting on the porch talking about the upcoming alien abduction. I eavesdrop on their conversation. Part 3, I wake up in the middle of the night. I'm paranoid about aliens, so I go to tell my dad that I can't sleep. I'm walking down the narrow hallway to my parents' bedroom. Their bedroom door swings open, and my grandma, who didn't live with us, is standing in the threshold holding a basket of laundry. I can basically only see her silhouette. I ask her what she's doing. She doesn't say anything, her eyes light up neon blue. She starts to pursue me down the hall. My mom emerges from the bedroom also with glowing blue eyes. They chase me. I try to run, but they catch me easily. They shed their human disguises and reveal their true alien forms. They look like greys, but they're a deep blue core. They put something like a brown plastic shopping bag over my head and start dragging me. They drag me through my sister's bedroom where she's sleeping. They take me out of her window and we're beamed up to their ship. That's when I woke up. Other than that, the only monster I can recall ever dreaming about is Bigfoot.
It's been a while, but the last few times I can recall that I had nightmares involving a specific, hostile entity. One was some kind of minotaur/bison human. One was a evil presence that had control over my body and vision and stuff. One was Satan himself, though without ever making an actual appearance. But that last one was way long ago, so I'm definitely missing more than a few.
I've dreamed about the Minotaur Bison demon thing. Did it have a giant, retardedly huge head?
Here is the dream I had of it. Typed it up that morning. Last night I dreamed that I was in a house with a bunch of my family, and when we were moving furniture around and found a rosary. Which prompted me to say I'm not Catholic, but I know they don't like this, and I grabbed some flashlights and me and my aunt went down into the basement to confront the demons. We found and were trying to exorcise this one female grudge ghost looking demon, and I was having a hard time speaking for a while, but eventually I was able to get words out, and I think we took care of that one. Then we went further into the basement and I apparently blacked out because I wake up back upstairs in the house and all I remember is images of the big boar-headed demon thing down there which had apparently chased us out. So we gathered the goons. I got my 300 blackout, my uncle got his SIG, other uncle had that 5.7 cal tech with the P90 mags, and my wife were also there. I stuffed my pockets with more flashlights and we went down into the basement to find/kill/exorcise the thing. The basement had turned into this big long sewer dungeon thing we were going to have to explore like it was a video game, and then unfortunately I woke up because my dogs were barking. Here's another I've had. Went to the snowy mountains with a couple people that aren't real for camping. And this invincible giant gorilla would come out of this hatch that led underground, and we kept having to go back in time to try to beat it. Shooting it didn't work. Eventually one of our people got hit with some spiky mace thing, and me and the other 1 or 2 people ran away trying to hide as we ran. Ended up in my old yard thinking we got away, but there it came down the alley. So I ran and climbed up a tree, and the cops came because the neighbors called about me being in their tree, but they then turned their attention to the gorilla. I tried setting it on fire and that slowed it down for a little bit. The cops and SWAT and military were there fighting it, and somebody took me and the people from my group in a van and we drove a bit away while they were fighting it, and I think winning. And the people in the van who saved us had magic/science powers. They showed us a bone piece from our friend that got clobbered and left in the mountains and said she isn't actually dead, we can bring her here pretty easily without having to go back there. So they had this big metal barrel vat thing like the kind you'd see a hobo have a campfire in, about chest high. It was full of red water and bones. So I did the logical thing and reached in and grabbed hair, pulled out our clobbered but now healthy friend, who happened to be young Winona Ryder. Another thing, every once in a while I'll have a dream where some demon girl like from The Ring or maybe some shadow thing I can't really see will be trying to get into me. I try to tell them to fuck off but I can't speak. One time the girl did crawl into my ear and I had the flu for a week after. I've been better at getting words out lately and calling upon the Lord for help instead of just calling the demons whores.
In my dreams there's sometimes this entity that lurks on 4chan. Browsing along in Dreamchon. Life is happy and nice. Dreamchon is usually really funny and epic when we'll be laughing at memes, shitposting, ROFLMAO. Open a random, innocuous meme for billionth time. Oh. Is actually sleep paralysis demon. Rapidly changing AI art-esque imagery starts flashing on the screen. Is a mixture of cute anime girls, MS Paint memes, and absolutely vile, very realistic gore and abuse. This droning, low-pitched scream, almost like a Half-Life zombie, combined with countless whispers all saying very, very personal and hurtful things, plays at max volume. What makes me think it's an entity is this smiley face made of burn marks that's usually constant with the image as it shifts through the various themes. Taking the face of one of the characters and shifting to different ones as it morphs. Can get stuck like this for quite a bit before I finally force myself awake.
Back in the year 2012 I had an incredibly vivid nightmare about fighting machines. I was somewhere I understood to be Northern California, near the coast. I was separated from my friends and family and fighting alongside a group of strangers. We had no uniforms and there were women and unarmed people in our group. We looked like homeless people with guns. Suddenly this huge, dark cloud of whirling flying machines comes over the horizon. It came up and over one of those big, steep hills like they have in San Francisco. Countless machines actually darkening the area with their shadows. They looked like the man-hacks from Half-Life 2. There was so much fear and panic. We started retreating inside this shitty-looking building to hide. The windows were all boarded up and there were objects like mattresses and tables places against the walls and windows to make them thicker. We understood somehow that the machines could see through walls and this was our crude effort to hide as deep inside the house as possible and avoid being seen. Walls bolstered by fucking mattresses and cardboard and whatever was there to sort of muffle their vision. We put the women closest to center of the house and posted up with rifles behind over. I remember being aware of them coming by the windows and looking for us. As the cloud of machines attacked, different parts of it split off and spread out down the alleyways and streets. It was like they all had one mind and each rotor thing was just a single digit of this gigantic organism. You could hear screaming off in the distance when they bore down on a particular house and discovered someone. It wasn't until around 2020-ish that I saw that Chinese footage of a drone swarms and recognized it from the dream.
When I lived in a somewhat rural area that was expanding with new developments over time, I saw/heard/experienced a lot of weird shit. And other people have too. Since I don't live there anymore, I'll dox myself for the sake of storytelling. Place is called Cumberland Beach in Ontario, immediately across the lake from an Ojibwe reservation and was Ojibwe land a long time ago. I'll start with my stories then move on to one I heard from someone I know. Story pertains to her childhood friend. Be me about 4 years ago now. Like going /out/ because nothing else to do in tiny community, no car. Huge development in backyard, gated, in construction at the time. Built on farmland. Cars lining surrounding streets because 3/4 of parking lot had to be not built due to uncovering of graves during excavation. Le Indian burial ground. Parking lot was on the back wall of the development, over the fence from neighbor's backyard. On the other side of development was long wooded road, was about 2 miles long. One side of road had woods belonging to gun club. Other side has patch of woods belonging to no one, was eventually bought by development. Road leads to other patch of woods, wetlands, unsuitable for building, so popular spot for hikers and such. Walking back from going hiking, is twilight. Walking down the long road with the woods. Footsteps double. Stop. Hear nothing. Start walking. Footsteps double again. Stop again. Hear loud panting right in my ear. Whip around. Nothing. Start speed walking. Speed walking doubles. Sprint. Hear panting, now more distant, until I'm 100 m from a house. Get back without incident. Later on that year. Walking down same road from my friend's house, he lives by the hiking woods. Midday, don't feel weird or anything. Look at ground. See snake skin. Inspect it. Not a snake skin, whole as snake, on the side of the road. Deflated, not flattened, bones still there, also too far off to the side to be roadkill. All organs missing, just skin and bone. Small, 1/8, diamond-shaped hole on stomach of snake. OK.png. All throughout that year random small stuff would happen at home. Every so often there would be rhythmic tapping on my bedroom window, ground floor, outside window was gravel with no vegetation. One night. Laying in bed. At the time was into Hotline Miami /Vaporwave/Outrun as it was popular at the time. Obligatory LED light strips under bed. Set to low red so it doesn't disturb me, but I can see where I'm going when I get up to take a piss at night. Feel fine, just watching YT on phone. Decide to pack it in. Put phone away, still sitting with back against headboard of bed. Internal monologue chimes in. Whatever you do, do not fucking move at all. Freeze. Could still move voluntarily, just really didn't want to. Black mass starts pacing the room in front of my bed, from one edge of my vision to the other. Just sitting there staring straight ahead for a good 10 minutes. All of a sudden, black mass disappears, fear subsides. Now for the story I was told. LE white woman. Early 40s. Sitting at fire in backyard with husband, property backs onto woods. Mid-January, like -15 outside, but wearing sweater and sneakers due to fire. He goes inside for beer. Comes back out. Wife is gone. Goes looking for her. Calls the cops. 3-day search with helicopter, FLIR, nothing. On 4th day, friends of the family band together and go searching in the woods for her. Find her with light frostbite on fingertips, missing a shoe with no memory of anything past when husband went inside. Considering what she was wearing, she should have been dead by day 2.
I had a nightmare as a kid that I was in like a daycare room. Me, my mom, and the kids she babysat were all in this room, and the thing was that we all were in one side and the other side was like complete darkness. And my mom tried to control us, but time after time a kid would run in the darkness and then scream and never come out. And I only ever saw the large arms with its sharp claws, but yet I could picture the whole creature. Long and pale, many arms up to 6 and a large mouth with sharp teeth, and its eyes I couldn't remember. But fast forward a few years later, and this girl I knew told me a nightmare she had about this creature who had locked up everyone she knew. From me to her dad, and he would eat us one by one, and funny enough I was the only one who attempted to escape but failed horribly. Not the last time, cause my entire life I tried to perfect this monster, and once I had the idea to add 8 beady eyes to it, then that night I had something like sleep paralysis, but it wasn't that. Just fear so tense I could not move. I was in bed and my door was cracked, and I swear to go it was there. That creature, and with those damn eyes. Ever since then I can swear I could feel its presence when I am scared.
Had out-of-body experiences where I visited a large house with an old woman who lived alone. Each time I visited, she knew I was there and spoke to me, and warned me about an evil demon in her basement. She would say she really did not like going down into her basement, because the evil thing was there trying to frighten her. I visited the house without really meaning to, but I kept being brought there, I guess. The old woman was nice enough, but she really did seem afraid of her own basement. I decided I was going to travel to the basement and face whatever was down there. When I approached, I could sense guttural noises like meat being chewed and growling, etc. At first, I wasn't sure what the thing was, but I could tell that it was malevolent and wanted me to leave. I began getting closer and focusing more intently on it, which angered it. It took the form of a large gnarled beast with pale skin and sharp teeth gnashing at me. Think a kind of pig-like humanoid with fangs and wrinkled skin. I was completely unafraid, and I felt absolute certainty that I was much stronger than this thing that was so desperately trying to frighten me. Finally, the thing charged me with its mouth agape, and I extended a hand toward it and drew it into my palm. Even though it wanted to bite me, the force of my palm was such that it could not move at all. I willed it into the ground beneath the earth and stomped above its head as the last of it sank down. There was a crack through which its eyes could still see me, and it looked up from its new home, and I could see it lost its monstrous form and was now just a man. I got the impression that this was the spirit of a wicked man who died, and was trying to stay behind by feeding off the fear of whoever it latched onto. I didn't allow it to pass on, since I couldn't be sure it would do so if I set it free, so now whenever I dream I see its eyes filled with rage staring at me from below the earth. Never was able to find the house again.
Not technically paranormal, but for some strange reason, I've had many dreams featuring polar bears, either chasing me or devouring me. I have absolutely no idea why this is. Before the dreams I barely knew anything about polar bears, but since, I've done a lot of research of them. And have even studied some incidents of people being hunted down and killed by polar bears, albeit very rare. Compared black or brown bear attacks because of how few people live where polar bears are found. The weirdest part is how common they are, like in total I think I've had about 8 to 10 that I can remember in the past couple of years or so. In them, I'm usually trying to run away from a polar bear, like on a foot, or on a vehicle like a snowmobile, or I'm trying to hide from one. But it eventually catches up to me, where I inevitably get eaten alive. Usually I wake up seconds into the attack.
Are they the exact same dream every time?
No, they are never identical. The only thing they have in common is me being chased by a polar bear, and me usually being eaten alive. Sometimes I wake up before it can eat me.
I saw this figure in a dream, long before I'd ever seen this artwork. It's probably the most profound dream I've had, and it still sticks with me. At the back end of a long dream, don't remember anything before this finale though. At my childhood home, a place of safety and familiarity. There's a lot of commotion occurring. My father is there, but rest of the family is absent. Also present is a squad of military men. Beret wearing special ops troops it seemed. Get the feeling of a race against the clock. The men and my father are working frantically with some technological device. I am in the backyard, as a child, and am watching this hasty activity. Not sure what's happening as I am too young to understand. The stress my father and the men are under is frightening though. Then, a powerful sensation from my rear periphery. Time seems to slow down as my body goes into survival mode. I am turning around to face the thing, completely alert, petrified. I see it. A human figure, the size of a child like me, comprised of solar fire. An infernal child, so bright I can hardly look at it, blazing so hot that the universe ends where its form begins. Walking slowly towards me with complete intentional confidence, as if knowing that no matter what happens it will always get to me. Somehow slip out of my terrified trance to run for my father. Make it to where he and the soldiers are, still working feverishly on a strange machine. They aren't concerned with me, but are completely focused on trying to stop the Inferno child with the device. I know it is hopeless, the being cannot be stopped and it sees me through any barrier. Wake up in a sweating panic, spend hours reliving the dream over and over wondering what it means. Half expect to see the sunfire being to materialize in my bedroom. What was it? What is its intention? Why did it come to me? I really feel like it was an actual being present in my dream. My fear is that it is my counterpart, an element of myself that is not myself.
My guess is that you glimpsed the cosmic war and your mind couldn't make sense of it. The reason you saw your father and soldiers is because that was the closest thing you could understand. Why did you use the word infernal to describe the figure?
I say infernal because the being was a literal inferno. I don't use that word to mean evil. Whether you drop a baby or a garbage bag into the sun, they are both consumed with indifference. Interesting take on the conflict occurring in the dream. Who are the combatants of the cosmic war? In that interpretation, is the flame being the antagonist?
Who are the combatants of the cosmic war? Beings of chaos and beings of order, the ones on the front lines, beings of utter destruction facing off. Is the flame being the antagonist? There is no antagonist.
This thread is right up my alley right now. Literally just last night I had a dream about entities. Entities really are the best way to describe them. Most of them seemed malicious, but not quite evil enough to be called demons in the Abrahamic sense. I was in some dark complex, being chased and attacked, hunted by these invisible beings, desperately trying to find an exit, or at least a hiding spot. I managed to find a corner to lay low and catch my breath, but was found by one such entity. Although it was invisible, I could still feel its presence there, and it felt different from the others. This one told me that it was not like the others, and that it would not hurt me. It offered me help getting to safety, and protection not just in that moment, but for the rest of my life. All I had to do was let it into my body, with the downside that at some point in my life, by random circumstance, my earlobes would end up getting sliced open or mutilated. I thought, man, fuck my earlobes, I want out of here. As it entered my body, I got a sense that this being in particular was incredibly ancient, older than any recorded religion. It guided me to a wall, which opened for me, revealing a wide, empty sky. The being told me to jump, and after hesitating for a moment, I trusted it to keep me safe, and did as it said. Instead of falling, I glided through the air, eventually passing by mountains, and finally landing near civilization. I'm normally very skeptical and not very spiritual, but something about this dream just hit me differently. It could be just that this dream was my brain's way of telling me that I feel overwhelmed in life and without guidance or direction. Or I could have just let some ancient immoral spirit possess my body, which does sound a bit less depressing.
I've had quite a few. These are some of my favorites. 1. I protected a bunch of children from a pedophile who could morph into a lizard. I dismembered his lizard form with a knife and threw him into a fireplace. 2. I was a kid in this one. While heading home from a family get-together, a huge white creature with inverted legs chased me and my parents in our car. 3. I'm witnessing a torture session inside a closet. There is a man tied up in a chair. He's blue and covered in hair, like Beast from X-Men. Another man walks into the closet and touches the blue man's forehead. The blue man screams in agony and the closet door shuts. 4. I run down a long hallway while being chased by a half-pig, half-man creature. The hallway ends in my bedroom, and I hide in my closet. He finds me, but I manage to kill him with my grandfather's buck knife. 5. I encountered a man wearing a very poorly tailored suit, who has horrific burns all over his body. His eyes are completely black. He is very tall and skinny, and his arms are abnormally long, going down to his knees. He tells me that he is very angry at me for trying to find a cure. He attacks me, and I pull out a crucifix and invoke the name of Christ. The man laughs at me. I once again invoke Christ's name and touch the man with the crucifix. He screams in pain, and his skin turns black where I touched him. He disappears. This was the scariest dream I've ever had, and I fully believe this was either a real demon or Satan himself invading my subconscious.
Based xenon neutralizer.
I have a dream that fucked with me a couple days ago. From what I remember, it started in the attic of my childhood home and I was playing games, facing a window towards the street. I felt as if something was off immediately. I felt watched, as if something was toying with me. My mom came up and that's when I walked all the way back down to the first floor. I spent a good portion of that dream looking out my windows, seeing glimpses of shadows moving, while there was a dark, cloudy sky. Frantically going from window to window, looking to see if any would approach. Eventually, Dream Me decided to leave my house. For context, my father died mid-2022, and my dog died late November, early December. I walked down my driveway towards a grill, one of the ones with a chimney, to let out smoke. And I remember I saw the lifeless head of my dog placed upon the chimney as I looked in horror. In the dream I had this idea that it was a hallucination caused by whatever was lurking outside, but it horrified me nonetheless. After that I ran inside. Sounds like some bitch shit, I know, but it was really fucking creepy.